Hello everyone, good to see you. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I have a lesson for you. It's called Offenses Will Come. Now what brought this about is when we were reading Romans chapter 14, verse 13, it says, "Therefore let us not judge one another anymore, but rather determine this, not to put an obstacle or a stumbling block in a brother's way." And I said that I would make a lesson about offenses because of this chapter 14, verse 13. So that's why we're here today. So we're going to be talking about offenses, or in the New American Standard Version, they call offenses stumbling blocks. Okay? But I think it's important that we read it in the King James Version because they use the word offenses. But stumbling blocks fits very well also. If you do something that causes a young Christian to stumble in their faith, especially if you cause a new Christian to fall away from their faith, then you have a problem. Then you may have the one with the millstone hung about your neck and cast into the sea. Do you see? Okay. Let's start at Matthew 10. Matthew 10, 42. Jesus is talking here. Let's start in verse 40 so you can get the feel of what Jesus is talking about in verse 42. So verse 40 says, "He who receives you receives me, and he that receives me receives him that sent me. He that receives a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he that receives a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward." Okay, here's the verse, 42. "And whoever shall give a drink unto one of these little ones a cup of cold water only in the name of a disciple, verily I say to you, he shall in no wise lose his reward." So he's saying, if you give a cup of cold water to a disciple, you shall in no wise lose your reward. Now the emphasis on this is to uplift and be kind, even to the disciple. Okay? We're talking about offenses. Don't offend them. Let's look at Matthew 18, 4-7. Matthew 18, 4-7. It reads, "Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is great in the kingdom of heaven." Now, we all know when we're around little children, they're humble. Okay, they're innocent. If you tell them something, they believe it. Because they're innocent, they don't know any better. Okay, let's read on verse 5. "And whoever shall receive one such little one in my name receives me. But whoever shall offend or cause a stumbling block to one of these little ones which believe in me," okay, you're causing them to sin, "it were better for him that a millstone were hung about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depths of the sea." Verse 7, "Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, but woe unto that man by whom the offenses come." So if you do something or say something to a new believer, one of God's little ones, and it causes them to sin or fall away from the faith, then you have a very, very serious problem on your hands with yourself. Okay? Let's go to the next verse. This is Matthew 18, 7 to 10. We read 7. I'll read it again. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come. But woe to the man by whom the offense comes. Wherefore, if your hand or your foot offend you, cut them off and cast them from you. It is better for you to enter into life halt or maimed, rather than having 2 hands and 2 feet and be cast into everlasting fire. So you see here that if your hands or your feet are causing you to sin, Jesus says, cut them off, get rid of them. They're causing you to sin. It's better that you go to heaven with one hand or one leg missing than to go into eternity or to go into hell for eternity with all your limbs. Then it says, and if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out, cast it from thee. It is better for thee not to enter into life with one eye rather than having 2 eyes and cast into hell fire. So if your eye is looking at something, in our day and age, if you're looking at something on the internet and you ought not to be looking at it and it's causing you to sin, Jesus is saying, pluck your eye out so you can't be watching that on the internet, because it's better that you go to heaven with one eye, or else you go to hell with 2 eyes. Do you see the seriousness of it? Verse 10, take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones, for I say to you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. Okay, I just threw that 10 in so you'd remember that you have angels watching over you. Okay, Mark chapter 9. Mark chapter 9, verses 41 and 42. For whosoever shall give a cup of water to drink in my name, because he belongs to Christ, verily I say to you, he shall not lose his reward. And whosoever shall offend one of these little ones that believe in me, it is better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he were cast into the sea. So he says that if you cause a new believer or a baby believer to sin, you offend them, you cause them to sin, you cause them to fall away, watch out, because you may be the one with the millstone around your neck. All right, that's how serious it is. You don't want to cause the new believers to fall away from the faith because of your actions or because of what you said. All right, let's go to the last verses in Luke chapter 17. 17, 1 and 2. Here we are. Then said he unto the disciples, Jesus is talking, it is impossible that offenses will come, but woe to him whom they come, who they come. It were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he cast into the sea, than that he should offend one of these little ones. So there again in Luke, he's saying Don't offend. Don't cause someone to sin by your actions or by what you say. Be careful, people. Be careful. Okay? Be careful because of offenses. All right, that's all I have to say about this. God bless you. I'll see you next time.